Salvete omnes! In this lesson, we will learn about the present active subjunctive and interrogative pronouns. Before watching this video, please read pages 89 through 94 in your textbook. This lesson will cover the following topics: subjunctive mood overview, forming the present active subjunctive, deliberative and hortatory subjunctives, and interrogative pronouns and adjectives. Before we learn how to form the present active subjunctive, let's talk about the mood in general. Remember that Latin has 4 moods, 3 of which we've learned so far. The indicative, which is used to express factual statements and questions. The infinitive, which has a variety of uses. One use we have learned, the complementary infinitive, used to complete verbal ideas, such as to be able to do something. The imperative, which is used to express direct commands. And finally, today we learn the subjunctive. In general, the subjunctive mood is used to express ideas that are possible, potential, or that represent a speaker's thoughts, feelings, desires. To negate any verbs in the subjunctive, most of the time you use the particle ne instead of non. There are many uses of the subjunctive, which are divided into independent uses and dependent uses. Today we'll learn 2 independent uses of the subjunctive, which means that the main verb of the sentence is in the subjunctive mood. These 2 uses are the hortatory subjunctive and the deliberative subjunctive. Now that we have a general understanding of the subjunctive mood, let's learn how to form the present active subjunctive. This procedure is similar to forming the present active indicative. Identify your present stem, change the thematic vowel, and add your personal endings mst, mustis, unt. The thematic vowel changes for each conjugation are as follows. First conjugation changes from A to E. Second conjugation changes from E to EA. Third conjugation changes from E to A. And fourth and mixed conjugation, though we don't know them yet, I will still share their vowel changes. So fourth conjugation changes from I to IA, and mixed conjugation changes from E to IA. There are many mnemonic devices that can help you remember these vowel changes, and I've included a few of my favorites here. The vowels in each word correspond to the changed vowels, in sequential order from first conjugation to mixed conjugation. Now that we know how to form the present active subjunctive, let's learn a few of its independent uses. First, the hortatory subjunctive. The word hortatory comes from the Latin verb hortor, which means to encourage, and as such, hortatory subjunctives express urgings and polite commands, in contrast with imperative direct commands. One nice thing about hortatory subjunctives is that they are always present tense and are often marked with exclamation points. To translate hortatory subjunctives, supply the English words let or may, as in let's verb or may I verb. I should also mention that hortatory subjunctives in the second and third person are sometimes called jussive subjunctives, but this is a silly distinction that we won't make in this class. Dora the Explorer loves hortatory subjunctives. Everybody let's go, or in Latin, omne seamus. Another independent use of the subjunctive is the deliberative subjunctive. The word deliberative comes from the Latin word delibero, which means, you guessed it, deliberate. Deliberative subjunctives express rhetorical and hypothetical questions. To translate, supply the English word should, as in, should I verb? Or quid dicam, what should I say? Before we practice the deliberative and hortatory subjunctive, I want to introduce you to interrogative pronouns and adjectives. The word interrogative comes from the Latin verb interrogo, which means to ask or interrogate. So these are question words like who, whose, and whom. We already know a few interrogative adverbs, cur, why, and ubi, where. In general, interrogative pronouns and adjectives usually come first in the sentence, except when they are the objects of prepositions. Remember, we know 2 ways to ask questions, with indicative verbs and subjunctive verbs. Questions that use indicative verbs are asking factual questions. They are actually seeking information and expect a response. Whereas deliberative subjunctives express hypothetical questions or rhetorical questions that may or may not expect an answer. Here are Latin interrogative pronouns and interrogative adjectives fully declined. You'll notice that there's not much difference between the forms of interrogative pronouns and interrogative adjectives, with the exception of the nominative singular for all three genders and the neuter accusative singular. You'll also probably recognize that some of these endings from either other pronouns such as he, kai, kok, or ile, ila, ilud, or endings from our first and second declension nouns. Hopefully that makes this chart seem a lot less daunting to memorize. I should also point out that in the dative and ablative plural, there is an alternate form for quibus, quis, which is often found in poetry. Take care to memorize these forms, especially the interrogative adjectives, because they will come up again when we learn how to form relative clauses. Now let's do a few practice sentences before we end this video. How would you translate amemus vitam, quia vita bona est? Let us love life, because life is good. We should love life, because life is good. May we love life, because life is good. All three translations are acceptable. Amemus, our main verb, is in the subjunctive. What kind of subjunctive is it? We only know two uses of the subjunctive, the hortatory and deliberative. This isn't a question, so that leaves hortatory. Let's do another one. How would you translate quibus puellis illud demus? To which girls should we give that thing? Here you'll see that quibus, our interrogative adjective, comes at the beginning of the sentence, and because it's an adjective, it is modifying puellis, and thus agrees in gender, case, and number. You'll also notice that demus, our main verb, is in the subjunctive. So, what kind of subjunctive is it? We only know two uses, hortatory and deliberative, and this is a question. So it's probably a deliberative subjunctive. Now, how does this sentence differ from the one we just translated? Quibus puellis illud damus. To which girls are we giving that thing? Here, our main verb is in the indicative, damus, as compared to the subjunctive, demus. So this is a direct question. It is trying to seek information and it is expecting an answer versus a hypothetical question that we saw in the previous slide. It's very important when translating to make sure that you are always accounting for the mood of your verb. Give yourself a round of applause because this video was a lot. Take care to make sure you internalize these concepts, what the subjunctive mood is and how to form it, as well as the forms of qui, quae, quod especially. This will serve you well as you continue to learn Latin. Waleta!